if I was innocent, wouldn't I just release all the files?
Yes.
Jeffrey Epstein, I barely knew the guy, okay? As evidenced by the thousands of pictures of us together, dancing and grinding our teeth at various parties.
I have a feeling our dearest president might be losing his mind right now, because the way SNL shredded his so-called Epstein cover-up in their recent segment is a little too brutal for his comfort level.
Okay, what about the specific email where Epstein said that Trump was the dog that hasn't barked?
Okay, first of all right? I'm not a dog. I'm more of a cub or possibly an otter.
And the timing could not be worse for him, because these new emails did not drop in a calm political season. They dropped in the middle of an election cycle where every headline can shift a state and every scandal can cost a voter.
These emails prove is that President Trump did nothing wrong. If anything, his crime was loving too much and possibly too young.
The part that truly exposes the chaos is the way the story exploded overnight. Democrats released 3 emails where Trump is mentioned directly in conversations connected to Epstein, and the response from Republicans was so frantic that they dumped 2,000 unrelated emails into the public sphere.
On Wednesday morning, Democrats released 3 of Jeffrey Epstein's emails that were part of a huge batch they received from his estate after issuing a subpoena.
I do not think anyone believes that was an act of transparency. It was a panic move, and even people on the right have admitted privately that it looked like a desperate attempt to bury the 3 specific documents that actually matter.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to release all of the Epstein files. This is great. Each file will be on sale for the low price of $800.
This is why SNL's decision stands out so sharply. They did not treat the Epstein scandal as a background detail. They treated it as the center of the political storm that it is, and they roasted Trump at the exact moment his team was struggling to contain the fallout. I thought the Daily Beast described it perfectly when they called the sketch a direct strike at Trump's distraction tactics, because that is exactly how it felt. It did not hold back, and it did not pretend things are normal when the political reality is anything but.
So focused on watching young women in a swimming pool that he bumped out the swimming pool at Jeffrey Epstein's home.
Important factoid there.
Right, yes. Yeah. On watching young women in a swimming pool that he bumped into a door.
I think many people still do not understand why that Wednesday email changed the entire political temperature, because it was not vague, anonymous, or speculative. It was an officially released document from congressional investigators, published on Wednesday with Trump's name tied directly to discussions about the underage girls Epstein trafficked.
Trump was mentioned thousands of times, not hundreds, thousands of times in these documents.
The wording was plain enough that even newsrooms that normally twist themselves into knots to protect Trump had no way around it. And if you want to keep up while this story keeps tripping over itself, hit subscribe now, because the next twist is always coming faster than Trump can deny it. The email stated that Trump had knowledge of the girls, and it immediately destroyed the talking point he has repeated since 2019 about barely knowing anything that happened on Epstein's island.
I just ordered the one that says, "Does Putin have the photo of Trump blowing Bubba?"
And the situation became even more absurd when the 2018 Epstein email resurfaced the very next day. That email, written while Epstein was still alive, said that Vladimir Putin possessed compromising photos of Trump blowing Bubba. The phrase spread like wildfire because Bubba has been one of Bill Clinton's public nicknames for decades.
You know, this is a beautiful, one-of-a-kind, printed-out screenshot in very low res of one of the many files mentioning President Trump. It makes a great stocking stuffer.
The online reaction was instant, and every headline framed it as a Clinton-related reference, which forced Mark Epstein to break his silence. He stepped forward and insisted that the email was not talking about Clinton at all. His statement sounded defensive and unconvincing, because if the nickname has been tied to one former president since the 90s, denying the association without offering any alternate explanation only made the moment look worse for Trump. The denial gave reporters more fuel, not less.
Clearly, now that we see the 20,000 pages, he's all over the documents. All over the documents.
But here's the thing. Let's say if this was the worst stuff in the documents, Why is Trump working so hard to prevent the rest of them from coming out?
Exactly.
This is exactly why I am not surprised that SNL decided to hold up a framed copy of that email during their cold open. It was not an exaggeration. It was not a metaphor. It was a reflection of the actual documents that had gone public.
Second, I thought Megyn Kelly made a terrific point this week. She said Epstein's not a pedophile. Terrific thing to just say out of nowhere. Great job, Megyn.
The situation intensified once SNL moved toward the Megyn Kelly clip that had already been circulating online. She went on air on Thursday and claimed that Jeffrey Epstein was not technically a pedophile because the girls he trafficked were not prepubescent.
Megyn, they should put her back on TV. Legalize Megyn.
The statement stunned almost every network that covered it, because redefining a sex trafficker to soften the crime is not a normal media move. It was such an unusual defense that even conservative commentators distanced themselves from it. But Trump seemed to appreciate the effort. Inside the SNL parody, he said, "We love Megyn," using the same tone he uses whenever someone defends him publicly. It was a transparent attempt to turn a disturbing statement into a positive talking point.
Realize that Trump exists across many timelines.
SNL took that moment and delivered a punchline that carried a heavier weight than most people expected. They joked that the country should legalize Megyn, which was not simply a throwaway line. It was a direct attack on the right-wing effort to sanitize Epstein's crimes by playing semantics with the word pedophile. And because the networks had already reacted with shock to the real Megyn Kelly clip, the punchline hit harder than usual. It was humor built on real public discomfort.
Trump has asked the DOJ to investigate Democrats' ties to Epstein, but is anyone investigating Trump? Look, the only thing these emails prove is that President Trump did nothing wrong.
The segment did not stop there. The second wave of humiliation arrived during Weekend Update, where Colin Jost targeted Trump for demanding that the Washington Commanders name their new stadium after him. The report came from team insiders earlier in the week, who stated that Trump had not only requested the naming honor, but threatened to obstruct the project if they refused. Jost responded by calling it the Dementia Dome, a line that cut directly into the narrative Trump tries to maintain about being strong, sharp, and mentally capable. It was not a random nickname. It was a direct hit at the insecurity he reacts to most violently.
They don't want to be on the wrong side of this, and it's going to pass anyway, so they're going to vote. So you're going to get a big number in the House. Let's say it got through the Senate, so it's going to get at least 60 to do that. And then Donald Trump's going to veto the bill that forces disclosure of information about his relationship with a sex trafficker.
Then Michael Che stepped in and described the newly released Epstein email as a duh moment, because, in his words, everyone expected it. That kind of comment works only when the public already believes the connection. Che did not need to build an argument, because the documents that came out Wednesday had already shifted public expectations. The joke played off the idea that Trump appears repeatedly in circles connected to alleged predators, and Che listed several by name: Epstein, Prince Andrew, and Diddy. He then compared Trump to a Forrest Gump figure who keeps appearing next to famous men accused of predatory behavior. It was harsh and specific, and it landed because the names came directly from real investigations, not SNL exaggeration.
I think one possible explanation is he feels like he did something bad or there's something bad in there, but he can't exactly remember what because he's done so many bad things over the course of the last 8 years.
By the time the sketch ended, Trump had already begun responding online. At 6:57 p.m. on the same night, he attacked Seth Meyers, calling him a man suffering from an incurable case of Trump derangement syndrome. He claimed that Meyers' show was a ratings disaster and demanded that NBC fire him immediately. This is the same pattern he has followed since 2015, whenever a comedian criticizes him. And his reaction on Saturday night proved the SNL jokes hit exactly where he is most sensitive. His ego has never handled ridicule well, especially ridicule that aligns with public evidence.
With most people, if you're trying to cover something up, you think, oh, that person might be guilty. With Donald Trump, his default setting is cover everything up, try to stop all bad news. And so you sort of understand that he could just be doing this anyway.
Trump has a long, documented history of reacting aggressively to jokes that connect to his scandals. He has gone after Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, Alec Baldwin, Trevor Noah, and Seth Meyers in the past. And the response is always the same. The moment a joke touches a subject he cannot control, he attacks the performer, the network, and the ratings. Saturday Night followed the same pattern. The timing confirmed that the SNL sketch struck a nerve because he responded before the news cycle even shifted. His rage did not come from comedy. It came from the fact that the comedy lined up perfectly with the documents that were released on Wednesday, which is the one thing he cannot spin. If all of this chaos is giving you the same headache it's giving me, then you already know we need to keep talking about it. So if you want updates that actually make sense and don't tiptoe around the truth, make sure you subscribe and stick with us.